Back again, everybody, and this week we're looking at fuel filters. Like we've said in previous videos, this PINZGAUER has two fuel filters. One's a water separator, which is on the driver's side, and one is a standard kind of fuel filter on the passenger side. Today we're going to look at replacing both of them, but we're going to start with the engine fuel filter, which is on the passenger side, like we said. We'll just do a bit of a walkthrough where things are. So what we've got here are two different fuel filters in this box. This is the vehicle one. Okay, so this is our one that's going to go in that position there. Okay, and then our second one is our water separator one. Okay, which is this is a screw-in type, and that's going to go over that side of the engine on the bulkhead down in that side. But we'll have a look at that when we get over there. So we're going to start with the fuel filter on this side first of all. So passenger side of the engine here, our silver filter here. This is our fuel filter on this side. We're going to sort out a few of the pipes and things while we're at things, because the pipes are all a bit of a mess. I'm also going to make sure that we've got everything all nice and clean here, so we can finally decide where this fuel leak's coming from. I think it is this second injector here, just because there's a little bit of mess round about the bottom of it, particularly. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to change these filters, and we're going to see if we can find out where that dribble's coming from by the time we've done the other filter on the other side as well. We're going to take this filter, disconnect it all, pull it out of there, and get rid of the diesel that's in it, because we don't want to put what may be already dirty diesel back through a fresh filter. We'll top up the new filter with fresh diesel straight out of can that's been filled up, and we'll get all that swapped out. The reason we fill the filters up is that it's going to save the engine trying to crank as hard to pump up new diesel from the tank. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off, we're going to undo the bracket at the front here. So I'm hoping you can see down in here. We're going to loosen that off, and that'll loosen the grip on that filter so that we can start to work with it there. So that's a captive nut in there. I thought it might have been a nut in a bolt. The nut on the other end isn't turning, so it's part of the bracket. Get that reasonably loose. And our filter's loose in there now. Okay, we're going to pull this R clip out of here, and that's going to loosen off this fitting out of there. And then finally, two little Jubilee clip held in with a couple of flat screws there. Undo that one. If you can manage to give a pipe a twist, it quite often breaks the seal. This one's gripping on well. But we're not too worried about doing damage to this filter, because this filter is going to the bin when we're finished. We're coming off. This is the pipe going to the pump. There we go, we're off. And then this pipe here is the supply from the tank. We're getting quite a lot of drippage off, so we'll just lift that to the end of it's pointing up the way. So this fuel filter won't come out of the bracket as is, with the length of the fuel filter compared to the space we've got. So we might need to take the fuel filter bracket off, which I'd hoped we wouldn't have to do. But again, you never know until you try with some of these things. There we go. Give it one more attempt. No. Just wondering if there might be enough slack in this fitting. When we've got it all the way undone, that the filter will go . Yeah, okay, we dropped it on the floor, which wasn't ideal, but that's it out. Yeah, there's enough room in there. I'm just going to rescue that filter, which is of course full of diesel, so it's leaked everywhere. Yeah, so when you take one filter off and you bring the other one out, just make sure that you've got the same model numbers and things on things. Right, so we've filled up the diesel filter and we're just going to try and wiggle it back in. We'll go in from the top, there we go. So we'll get that in and we'll secure that with our bolt at the front. Yeah, so that's a bit easier with a mechanical grip there to squeeze that up a bit. That's the first few threads on. With the bolt, we can get rid of that set of grips. Just slipped down a little bit too far, that we're gripping the shoulder of the cylinder. Yeah, that's better. That's just seated just a little bit nicer. Doesn't need to be rock hard, it's just holding it in place. Right, we're going to take our two caps off here. One is for our pump outlet, which we can wiggle on, there we are. And our other one is for our lift from the pump, from the tank. That slides on. We're going to do them both up with the screwdriver there. Make sure they're not going to draw any air in, because that diesels need to be nice tight air systems. If they draw air in, then you start to have problems with them running badly, which I think this engine may have something like that happening, but we're going to investigate that. Then that bit goes in the top and we find our R clip. It always helps to be organised so you don't lose things like R clips. Ah, there she is. And our R clip goes through the holes on both sides and then round the side there, and that secures that, and that's the leak off returns. So if the filter overfills, then it returns to the tank through this pipe, and it also takes the excess off the injector pumps and returns that. I do think this clamp here needs a bit of a tidy up. She seems a bit of a mess. It's one pipe I think I would like to possibly change at some point, but we'll get her up and running first, singing and dancing. This Jubilee clip wasn't actually gripping anything. Previously. It worked its way off the end of things. I think this pipe's just a bit too short, It wants a bit more of a loop on it, so it doesn't kink. But we'll have a look at that in the long run of things as well. So we've done the fuel filter on the passenger side of the vehicle. We're now going to do the water separator that is on the driver's side of the vehicle. It's a bit more awkward to get to than the original, the main engine filter is. So we'll have a look at how that's done. It's a screw on, screw off filter, more like an oil filter style than most of the fuel filters I've ever dealt with. But we're going to have a go with that. I'll go and fill that with fresh diesel first of all, and then we'll get to where we can find it. So we've filled up our filter, and we'll just have a look at where this new filter is. So it's where the old filter is. So if we've got our turbo and exhaust manifold and everything, then down behind there, we'll see in here we've got an old fuel separator here. Might be easier to see through there. Yeah, so this does look rather old, so I think I'm going to be quite happy to get this changed. It should just be a case of spinning it off by hand. Right, that started turning now. We've got quite a bit of fuel leaking there. We've got a bucket underneath that's catching all that. And then we have our rather old, horrible looking filter off there. I think that actually gets quite a bit of muck off the wheel wells and things like that. So we'll get that straight out so we're not dripping fuel everywhere in the cab. And we'll set that to the side. And we'll get our nice new one here that's filled with fresh diesel, and we'll get that put in. I think I'm going to need two hands for this though, so we'll have to depend on the GoPro camera for this. We've got that lined up there. And we'll start spinning her on. This is a very awkward position to be in, I'll be honest. There we go, we've got her started there. She's screwing up. starting to tighten. We don't want to do it overly tighten because that might muck the seals up. But again, we want to have it so that we're not trying to introduce, or we're not going to have a persistent air leaking into the system in there. So you probably didn't see much in there, but if we go back to the hand camera, we can see our new filter in there, ready to rock. Okay, what we're now going to do is we're going to just generally go around and give both of those filters a wipe, make sure there's no fuel visible on them, and then that just makes identifying any leaks and things that we have easier later on. And when we can give it a go at starting up and checking that we've no leaks in the two systems.
So she started up just on the key quite nicely. I'm always wary when it starts first turn after a fuel change. She's running quite nice.
So altogether, I'm rather happy with that fuel filter change. It's gone quite easily. Touch wood, we're not going to have any leaks from it, but we'll keep checking while we're doing our other services that we're doing. So our oil filter and our belts changes and all that kind of stuff still to come. So we'll keep an eye on the fuel, see if we've not got any leaks and things like that. So just while I've been finishing my fuel service, I've noticed that this pipe here, which I think is from the vacuum pump, but I'll need to double check that, it's all split and quite badly perished. And that might explain why a few of my vacuum systems aren't working correctly. The brakes have been working fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm really going to cut about an inch off this pipe and see if the quality improves further down, whether it's just where it's been heated from the engine. If not, then we'll have to replace that whole length of pipe, which isn't too big a deal. But we'll what we'll do is we'll try and save ourselves the job just now. Yeah, so it's this pipe in here that's all split. So we'll just undo this Jubilee clip a little, and we'll see how bad the damage is. Comes off easily enough. So yeah, it's just a little bit old and tired. Like I say, I think I'm going to take about 1.5 to 2 inches off that, and there's a little bit spare further along that's going to allow us to get that put back on there. So I'll go and get a knife and we'll cut away. So a proper tool for the proper job. and that cuts it nicely and neatly and properly. So that's like we always try and do, is the proper knife for the proper job. I'm just going to very slightly change the route of that pipe. And that should give us ample spare. Put our Jubilee clip on if we don't drop it first. Oh. Thankfully that landed somewhere handy. Really is about the limit of what we could have cut off that. Ugh. We'll angle our Jubilee clip back on. And tighten her back up again, and we'll see in the long run of things whether that's going to improve our vacuum problem that we've had with the differentials and things. Next time is going to be to do an oil change. So our sump for the oil is just here, behind the front wheel. Okay. We'll drain all that, and then filter is round on the driver's side right at the front of the engine, which on one of the manuals I have is not at all where it says it is, but our oil filter down there underneath the alternator. So we'll get the oil filter in. That'll be the next video, so we hope to see you then for that.